The Holocene has ended. What we do now and in the next few years will profoundly affect the next few thousand years. The only conditions modern humans have ever known so far are changing, and changing fast.
Nothing stays the same on this planet. Everything changes. The Earth is going into one of these jumps, and you don't know what is going to be on the other side of those jumps. The Earth is always jumping. Things move on this planet. Things are not still. Everything is turning.
In the next 80 years, it's estimated that we need an additional 2 billion houses. That is an inconceivable quantity. It is, in fact, twice the number of houses that we as a species have ever built. Some see this as an incredible opportunity, an opportunity to completely redefine the way that we as humans live on this earth. And that's wonderful. But the truth of the situation is that if we continue to build these 2 billion houses the way we do today, we will cripple our planet. Our current methods of material consumption, extraction, and disposal are utterly incompatible with nature. Nothing in our natural ecosystems will do this to create its shelter. Our take, make, and dispose attitude is a one-way ticket to an environmental calamity.
And if you think about the city today, there's a lot of space which is unused during most of the day or during most of the year, but still we want to give it to one function. By overlapping different functions, we can actually use space in a more efficient way, so have higher density, lower energy consumption per capita in a more sociable environment. And so trees are very important for both from environmental reasons, but also for the pleasure of being in a green environment as we move outside in cities. So the idea again is, can you combine networks and social networks with the presence of trees? Can you map trees? Can you allow people to take action? Create almost like a social network for trees in the way that you empower people to take responsibility of the green canopy, but also to ask politicians to improve it and to compare one city with another one. That can become a very important tool both to monitor the green canopy and to improve it.
The first trees were entering 7 years ago, and now after 7 years of trees living here, of 5 years of people, inhabitants, tenants living here, we could say that the capacity of the building to absorb CO2 and transform it in oxygen, the capacity of this building to clean the air of Milan, absorbing the dust of the urban pollution, the multiplication of species.
We will never be able to produce all the food that's needed in New York, just in New York. There's simply not enough space and not enough sun falling on New York. But what we can do, yes, is still bring a lot of urban agriculture into the city. And that's very important, not necessarily for the quantity of food, but it's very important because it connects us with nature, with seasons, with production itself, with things that we've been doing as humans for thousands of years. And so that, per se, is one of the crucial components of urban farming. Today we know that thanks to digital, it's much easier to share. Think about sharing a car, or think about sharing an apartment on Airbnb. And so the idea is, how can we develop digital platforms that allow us to share in the city at a much broader scale? Many pieces of infrastructure for living, for working, for moving, most of that is used for some of the time, but not for all the time. So if we're able to share more, we can save a lot at the aggregated level. And Medellin has found a way to actually bring public spaces into informal settlements in order to reconnect those pockets with the rest of the city. And that you can call like the Medellin model is what has been now being widely used all across the world. And when you think about this, first of all, these physical connections, think about cable cars connecting the favelas, an informal settlement with the rest of the city, but also other type of connections. Having a library means like a cultural connection, allowing people to exchange and, even visually, those are very important symbolic connections in order to make the whole city work as a whole.
When I go to Hong Kong or Sydney or Vancouver, most of the kids I meet are much more international and multicultural than I am. And they have one home associated with their parents, but another associated with their partners, a third connected maybe with the place where they happen to be, a fourth connected with the place they dream of being, and many more besides. And their whole life will be spent taking pieces of many different places and putting them together into a stained glass whole. Home for them is really a work in progress. It's like a project on which they're constantly adding upgrades and improvements and corrections.